So we're going to be using Firebase for this tutorial series, and I wanted to show you that all of what we're doing is going to be free. By default, when you create a project, it's going to be the Spark plan, which is completely free, and you're never going to go over these limits as long as you don't give anybody your API key. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start by installing the dependencies that we're going to need for our project. We are going to use create React app in order to create the React application, and then we're going to use what that creates to go ahead and build our application. So in order to get this, we're going to go ahead and install it. So in the directory where you're at, where you want your project to be, go ahead and type in npm install -g. For this tutorial, we're going to install this globally, and it's going to be create-react-app. Go ahead and install that. Now that that's installed, let's go ahead and create the React app. So go ahead and say create-react-app, and then let's name the app im-tutorial. Press enter, and it's going to go ahead and create a React app for you. Now that that's done, go ahead and go into the directory that you just created. So cd, and then it's im-tutorial. Now you're in the directory. So we're going to go ahead and install the React router. So in order to do that, we'll just type in npm install react-router-dom. Go ahead and install that. Okay, now the next dependency we're going to install is going to be Firebase. So npm install Firebase, and then put the @ symbol, and we want to install this specific version 6.0.2. Go ahead and press enter. Great, now that that's complete, let's go ahead and install Material UI. So npm install @material, and that's going to be a -UI/core. Go ahead and press enter and let that install. And the final dependency we're going to add is actually another Material UI library, but we're going to get the icons because we're going to use some of their icons. So npm install @material-UI/icons. Press enter. Now that we have our dependencies installed for the project, I want you to go to firebase.google.com, and I want you to create an account there. And once you're done creating an account at Firebase, I want you to go ahead and go to your console, and you'll be presented with a screen very similar to this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add this project. So I'll click add project, and I'm going to name this im-tutorial. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and use the default settings, and then I'm going to accept the conditions and click create project. Now let this create the project. It'll take just a moment. Once that's done, go ahead and click continue. And now you're brought to the dashboard for that particular project. So the first thing we're going to want to set up here is the authentication. So go ahead and click authentication, and then over here click set up a sign-in method. Then we're going to enable the email and password. So over here where this pencil is, click that, and then I want you to enable the first option but leave the second one disabled, and click save. Now that you have this enabled, let's go over to the users section. Now you can see there's no users here. That's because we haven't created any yet. Once we start creating them, you'll see a list of them here, and you can manage them from this dashboard. So now that we're done setting up our authentication method, let's go ahead and click this database tab right here, and then you'll be presented with this screen. You'll see this button here, create database. You do not want to click this one because we're not going to be using the real-time database. This one is older. We're going to be using Cloud Firestore. So go ahead and click this button right here, and then click start in test mode because we're not going to be going over deploying the application in this part of the tutorial series. So let's go ahead and just enable this and click enable. Now that that's done, you'll be presented with this screen right here, and we're going to go ahead and add a collection. The first collection is going to be called users, and whenever a user signs up, we're going to add them to the authentication, but we're also going to want to add them to the database. So we're going to add a collection called users, click next, and then the document ID is going to be the username. So we don't really want to add anything here, but we have to in order to get this database initialized. So I'm going to click auto ID and just click save. Then in here, I'm going to click on the ID that I just created, come to these bubbles over here and click delete document, start delete, and now we have the collection without any documents, which is what we want. So let's go ahead and create our second collection, which is going to be called chats. And we're going to click next, and then again, auto ID, save, and then click on the ID that you just created, come over to these bubbles, and then delete the document. So we're going to be creating chats and users in Firebase in the beginning until we have everything set up in the code. But for now, I just want to leave these empty because the default user and default chats that we had to create in order to get these set up are not actually going to be used in the application. So now that we have our dependencies installed and we have Firebase set up, I want you to go back to your terminal window and type in npm start. Go ahead and let that start up. And now your browser should pop up with a tab here with the default app displayed on the screen. This is how you know that everything is installed and working properly to begin with. So go ahead and open up your code editor. In this tutorial series, I'm going to be using VS Code, and I've got the project open here on the side. What we're going to do is we're going to go to the source folder, and I want you to go ahead and start deleting some files. So app.css, we're going to go ahead and delete that. We'll delete app.js, go ahead and delete that. App.test.js, delete that. And we're going to go ahead and keep the rest of the files that are here. Now we're going to have this error here because we just deleted app.js, and you can see here we're importing app.js. So I'm actually going to come in here, remove this line, and instead of saying app, I just want you to put in a div here and say hello world, just like this. I want you to save, and now you can see that hello world is now appearing on the screen over here. So all this is doing is it's taking a div and it's rendering it into the document.getElementById root here. And where is this coming from? Well, we know that document.getElementId simply grabs an element from the DOM with this particular ID. So this must exist. Well, it does. We have a, let's find it really quick. We have a public folder, and inside of the public folder, we have an index.html. If you open that, you can scroll down and see that there's a div here with the ID of root, and whatever we create in our React app ends up getting injected in between these tags right here, and the entire app is put inside of this root div. So we're going to want to go ahead and set up our app, our Firebase app that we created inside of our React application. So in order to do this, on your dashboard under your project overview here in Firebase, go ahead and look at this section right here that says add an app to get started. Click on this one right here, this link right here that looks like code brackets. This is for web applications. Click that, and you'll go ahead and name this IM tutorial React. And then go ahead and click register app. And now this is generated, which is going to be code that we're going to use for our setting up of the Firebase. So what we are going to do is we're not going to do this exactly. We're going to use this information here, but we're going to actually import this because we're using the Firebase module within React. So I want you to take these two lines, const Firebase equals require Firebase and require Firebase / Firestore. I want you to put these directly under the rest of the imports here. And then under this, I want you to go ahead and type in Firebase dot initialize app, which is a function that we're given when we installed this for React. And it's going to take an object. So go ahead and put curly braces in there. And we want to actually give it exactly this information right here. So go ahead and copy yours. Do not copy mine because I'm going to delete my API key by the time this tutorial is up. But go ahead and copy all of this and paste it into this object in here. Now you have your object, your Firebase initialized here inside of your React app. Now it's worth mentioning that in a normal app, in a production application, you're not going to put all of this information here. You're not going to want to expose your API key or any of this information to the public. So normally you would actually get this information from a database over an encrypted line such as HTTPS, and you would use that information, but we're not going to be deploying the application in this part of the tutorial series. So this will be perfectly fine for this demonstration and this tutorial series. So once you have this, you'll be able to access Firebase throughout the app by simply importing the module. So starting in the next video, we're going to go ahead and actually start beginning to create our React application. So if you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.